Season 2 of The Mandalorian was incredible. This week, we recap some of our favorite moments from the season, we break down the finale, and talk about what we want to see going forward, right here on the High Ground Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for this very special episode of the High Ground Podcast, because I'm doing 2 this week, but we had this amazing finale, and I can't just not cover it. You know what I mean? Like, and time is of the essence. We gotta jump in here. We gotta talk about it. And I kind of want to talk about the whole season, and then we'll really nail down on this grand finale, because it is it's blowing doors off of everywhere. But I want to start by going around and having everyone introduce themselves and let us know, who are you? How'd you get into Star Wars? And also, where does The Mandalorian rank in terms of, all of the projects, all of the movies and other shows? I'm curious where Mando ranks for you guys. I will go to Matt first.
All right. So I started watching Star Wars back on VHS with my friend when we were like 5-6 years old. We used to watch there was the VHS that had like the Yoda face and the Stormtrooper face and Darth Vader face. And we would just watch that constantly over and over. That, Indiana Jones, and I think Saving Private Ryan. We were like 8 years old. We shouldn't have been watching most of that stuff. Whew. We just watched that over and over again. And the prequels came out. And I remember thinking like, wait a minute. We could have had the prequels the whole time. Like, this is super cool. I was like, screw the original trilogy. This is where it's at. Like, there's action. There's no action in the episode 4. That's boring now. And then, I just like took off and started learning more about it. And it's one of those things of like, you love it, and then it kind of goes to the side, and then something big happens and it brings you back to it. And so for me, it was like Force Awakens. My wife had never seen any of the Star Wars movies. She knew nothing about them. So when she was watching episode 5, when Darth Vader's like, I am your father, she's like, that's the scene from Toy Story 2, like with Zurg and Buzz Lightyear. And I was like, yeah, that's the scene. And so she got to watch them, without me spoiling anything. And she's like, oh, like, this is crazy. So we watched episode 7, and we all knew that Han would kick it. And even then, me and her are just bawling our eyes out. And then Disneyland comes out with Galaxy's Edge. And I'm just like, it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. Like, they really just like, I love it. So that's my whole thing with it. And as for where The Mandalorian ranks, I would say it's probably top 5, maybe top 3.
Okay. I like that a lot. And how about you, Amaya? Also, does everyone want me to call them just by their first names, or you prefer your TikTok handles? Or
my first name is fine.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Same here.
But Maya.
So I was raised in a Star Wars family. Like, my dad had seen all the movies in theaters when he was younger and made my mom watch all the movies. And he's just always been watching the movies when I was growing up. And I used to be scared of Yoda when I was younger. So fun fact. He was really into Darth Vader, as you can tell by the helmet in the background. But and then I used to watch the Clone Wars like on TV when I was really young with my brother too, and just kind of grew up with Star Wars, I guess. And as far as Mando, honestly, after the first season, it was kind of towards the bottom of my ranking. Not because I didn't like it, just because I liked all the other content better. Mm-hmm. I feel like after this season, it's definitely been boosted up on my ranking. It's definitely on like the higher end of my ranking now. I love this season so much.
I kind of feel you on that one as well, because the first season was a little slower, a little bit more deliberate, but it needed to be. And I think we'll get into that. And then how about you, Kev?
Yeah, very similar story to everyone else. My parents split up when I was young, and our tradition was the first night of custody switch off was tough for me. So my dad would take me to the movie theater every single time. And that was it. It was every Wednesday night, let's go to the movie theater. And so he got me into Star Wars, and he would take me, and it became this like spiritual, magical thing for me. So same as Amaya, my dad, huge Darth Vader fan. And And then, like Matthew was saying, and then when the prequels came out, it was this whole new world. And then fandom became a different thing. It became this daily discussion, daily topic. You know, instead of just having the VHS in your grandpa's basement, it was now a part of life all the time. And so I connected a lot to growing up. It's very important for me. I would say like I'm dating a new person right now, and I'm like, I have to ask the Star Wars question to see if it's even gonna happen. It's that important. As far as where the Mando ranks, for me, it's always been really high, just because every week I'm praising the gods of cinema and TV that we have live action Star Wars. Shocked and amazed that it ever happened. And so every week I'm just, and in some of the episodes that weren't as good quality, I was saying maybe a little bit slow burn in the first season, I'm like, hey, we got live action Star Wars. I'm ranking this historic and special. And I just would do parties and rituals and go way overboard. So ranked it really high. And this season was great.
It's funny because for me and my wife, you know, my wife is not a huge Star Wars fan, but I made sure like there was no chance unless she had to be geeky and agreeable to it, you know, and we can introduce each other more into their.
You had to be open
circles.
to your whims, open to your wild whims with Star Wars.
Exactly. That's a must. But yeah, all right. So here in season 2, we got a lot of cameos and side characters, you know, some from the previous season, some new popping up. And real quick, I just wanted you guys to hit like, what were kind of your favorite characters that you saw pop up and why? So I said pick 1 or 2, kind of give a list. I may have forgotten some. If I forget some, that's cool. You know, just add them. But Amaya, who stands out to you?
Well, obviously Ahsoka, because she's just my like number 1 favorite character ever, and to see her live action is something that I always wanted. Like ever since I was like young and was watching Clone Wars, I was like, I want to see what she looks like if I like met her in person. So when I found out that she was like coming and being in live action, it was just like amazing news for me, and I was not disappointed at all by her. I loved the entire episode. I loved everything about her. Like it was just, I like freaked out, and I don't give like verbal reactions and stuff when I'm watching stuff like alone. But when I was watching, like when I first saw Ahsoka, I like yelled. I was like, "Oh my god, it's Ahsoka!" Because that's like my Star Wars dream come true. And her lightsabers looked amazing too. Like everything, like I was so in awe by like all of her. Like I loved it. I loved her so much. And also Boba. I feel like I never thought Boba was overrated. I know a lot of people really liked him, and I didn't really feel that same like liking for him.
Just a little overrated.
Yeah. Just because we saw some good like action in the original trilogy, but I feel like we didn't see enough for me to be like, I love Boba Fett, you know? But in this season, like oh my god, jaw dropped. I was like speechless. He was amazing. Like I love Boba Fett now.
Agreed. I'm in the same camp, man.
Yeah.
My wife and I used to clown on Boba Fett all the time, be like, Boba Fett where? And like, because when she saw, she's like, wait a minute. People think Boba Fett's bad, but he didn't do anything. And I'm like, well, like in comics and stuff, he does. She's like, but like in the movies, he didn't do anything. He looks cool, but he got beat by a blind man.
That's
like not like a cool blind man in like Rogue One, like a blind man. And so I was like, well, like, you know, and so going into this, and I was like, oh, Boba Fett, okay. And then he I was freaking out, and good job, Filoni and Favreau, man. You guys just
definitely
wonderful.
Dude has rockets on his knees. Like the hell?
They ran away. They're like, oh nope. Guy's got a rocket on his knees. I'm not messing with that. Goodbye. I quit.
It's like some Captain Falcon stuff.
Dude, right? Jumping jetpacking into the face.
But yeah, how about you? How about you, Kev?
I one note on the Boba Fett thing, because that's a great topic. Because if you take someone who's never seen Star Wars and you're like, I'm going to show you the most beloved character that people dress up at cons, they flip out about, like people just go bananas over this. People make purses and helmets. And then you show them Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. They're like, a non-Star Wars fan's like, okay, goes out in the worst death ever, is barely on screen, but he just connected with people over the years. But you're right. Now we got this character development. That's what I'm saying. I'm just like so stoked to have this. I'm all about the core team. I love Cobb Vanth was awesome. To me, it was like the greatest side character, and I was so bummed he wasn't on the rescue team.
Same.
He's got to come back in. Maybe he makes it as part of the Rangers of the New Republic. I loved Cobb Vanth. I love all the one-off characters. I thought this last Mayfield arc was incredible. I didn't like that character at all. I was like, come on, Bill Burr complaining and whining. But this episode, all that dialogue about the Empire and about life and what war is like, it was so good. But I'm all about the core team. So I love Cara Dune and I love Grief. Grief is like, I was scared they were going to take Grief, but Grief is my guy. And I go all the way back to the Predator days with Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger. So when Grief got into the show, directed a couple episodes, I just love the way he delivers dialogue. I love the way he talks, and he's become like this grandfather figure. So I like the core team. I'm all about it. But the one-off, Cobb Vanth is probably, he was a home run for me. That was such a cool, that episode's at the top of my list. The first episode of this season is just phenomenal.
Agreed. And then, and Matt, do you have any more thoughts as well?
I loved all of it. One thing was the Cobb Vanth. I'm like, where did he go? Where is he? But also, where was the other? What was the third Mando with Bo-Katan, Sasha Banks?
That.
Yeah,
I was like, "Where's the dude?" I was like, "Is it just because they just wanted
bring in the ladies, the A Force?" It was great.
I know. I was watching it, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, this is all women. Like, this is just the Strike Force, just all women. Like, good job, you guys.
Yes.
Everyone."
I told my daughter that I was like, "Look at this, all four just crushing these troopers is ladies, and they're just. It was amazing.
Yeah, girls getting it done."
Yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, that was just my uncle. I was like, "Where's the other dude? Like, where's the other dude?" But my favorite thing in the episode, just as someone who loves wrestling, was when Sasha Banks DDT'd Boba Fett. I was like, I love when wrestlers who are acting in movies do wrestling moves that you would never see in those movies.
I knew she was going to have some good stunts, because when I found out she was a pro wrestler, I was like, those stunts are going to be awesome.
She's good too. She's good. She's been, anyways, I go on for it. But yeah, that was my gist. I was like, oh, that guy's not there. But the Boba versus her, I was like, oh, look at Boba. It makes her look strong, him look strong. Just the fight pieces. And then my last thing I'll say is someone posted on TikTok about how the scene at the end of Rogue One mirrors Luke Skywalker coming into Death Watch. And I was like, that's Favreau, man. Like, how do you think of these things? I loved it. Love Star Wars. Love this. Love The Mandalorian. It was wonderful.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, like, first person that jumps out to me is obviously Ahsoka. Ahsoka and Bo-Katan, both of them, specifically because these were both characters that we never had any live action version of. They were full CG characters. Both from Clone Wars, both got pulled into Rebels, and then we got live action versions of them, and I think they just did a phenomenal job bringing the characters to life. I heard, a little bit of gripes of like, Ahsoka didn't use reverse grip enough, but
yes, the nitpicking.
But like, I feel like, listen, I'm the king of nitpicking. Like, I pick out those little details. I just don't care.
Yeah, the rule of cool.
But like, if you watch Rebels, she doesn't use reverse grip nearly as much as she did in Clone Wars. Like, that's a thing.
Yeah,
her fighting
even
style
in Clone Wars
evolved.
Season 7, when she was fighting Maul, she wasn't really using reverse grip that much, which is why it didn't bother me that much.
Exactly. Like, it's actually more detailed, not less.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when Bo-Katan shows up and you see the Night Owl's helmet, I was like, wait a second, they doing it? Are they doing it?
That was crazy. I mean, that's just so deep. That's such a deep cut. And It's like that thing. If you're a non-Star Wars fan, you're watching like, oh, these are cool. This is really cool. Look at these beautiful Mandalorians. That's cool, cool, cool. But Clone Wars fans and animation fans are just fainting. They're fainting in the background. That was crazy. It was crazy.
Oh, really quick. Sorry. Can I bring up the other characters? Moff Gideon. I knew he had a plan from the go. And like he would have won that entire exchange had the Deus Ex Machina of Luke reached out with the horse and be like, "Oh, my little Grogito is in trouble. Better go save him." Like Moff Gideon won. He knew what he had to do to win that exchange. Like he didn't beat Mando, but he beat Bo-Katan. Like it's for me, it's just like he had that. Everything would have worked out fine. He would have won that battle. He had checkmate, checkmate, checkmate. And then Luke Skywalker comes in.
He had the psychological game.
Yeah, he had it all down.
And for the record, Matthew, you remember, like we were talking with Chaco last week, and Darth Chaco was saying this outlandish prediction that nobody was down with, but he was so right. Like it came so close to Bo-Katan and like Mando having a conflict, and that's like Chaco's understanding of the lore of Mandalore. And
season three,
it's happening right before our eyes. Chaco called it, and it just got so close.
I think he's still right. I honestly think we're still going to get that, just not this season. They're like, look, we only got 40 something minutes. Let's save this, And so I think they're still going to have a showdown because that was a huge plot line that didn't get resolved. Like, it's someone else pointed out on TikTok. They're like, Sabine may have given Bo-Katan the saber, but she didn't win it in a fight. It was a royalty given it to royalty. Mando won that sword in a fight. That means a lot. And I don't think Bo-Katan will accept that any less than a fight.
They gave Bo-Katan some edge in this episode. Like that whole scene, you see the fire in her eyes. Also when she's like calling Boba Fett out, like you're just like a stinking clone. Like it was like they gave her some edge. And I was like, Chaco called it.
I thought she died. She got lit up. By Moff, man. And she just got up. She's like, nah, next time, Gideon. Try again.
Well, I mean, I do assume she's got the full Beskar get up because she is royalty, right? She is like, I mean, she is the heiress. That was her name. But Katie Sackhoff kills it. And the fact that she has been the voice for all of these years and then she actually gets to play the character, it's just so cool. It's just so
perfect. Cool. She would come on Collider quite a bit and chime in too, and they would always talk about her Star Wars career, and now it's just blowing up. It was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So then we'll just kind of hit a couple of the episodes here. You'll notice that I left the finale off of this list because I think we all have plenty to say on that separately. This one, I'm going to Kevin first. You mentioned the Marshal being way up there for you, but your thoughts. Which episodes this season?
Top. Not only top episode of this season beside the finale, also last season. The first episode of season 2 takes the cake. And it's also one of my favorite episodes of TV ever. I mean, there was reference to all the Star Wars creatures. They said Womp Rat like 80 times in that episode. They just kept saying, like hammering it home, like, just in case you didn't know, there's Womp Rats. Cobb Vanth is on it. They showed different species all over the place. And then to bring in the Krayt Dragon as this legendary deep lore cut that we'd all seen the skeletons of. We've seen Obi-Wan Kenobi do the growl, do the the Tusken Raiders scare off. That episode was just so big, and the cinematography was beautiful. The feel of being in a Western, that Mandalorian is always talked about as this Western interpretation of Star Wars, and it just hit all those marks. And then you got these little teases that Boba Fett's really going to happen. It's really going to happen and become big. Timothy Olyphant's awesome. He's played that character in like 4 Westerns already. So they're like, just put the Boba Fett armor on him, let him do it. He even played that exact same thing in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Quentin Tarantino. Oh. It was just perfectly cast. So to me, that's just a top episode. The speeder scenes were beautiful. Anytime you're getting out into just the big landscape Tatooine, you never know what's going to hit you. It's going to be Star Wars comfort food. So to me, that's top episode besides the finale.
Yeah, and one thing like that episode really did is it's really hammering in this thing that there's only one Star Wars, and this is all Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many people that like, oh, I'm not going to watch the Clone Wars, or I'm not going to watch Rebels, all this stuff. That's for kids, or, you know, having Cobb Vanth be a character, a canon character from the Aftermath book from 2015. And having them, you know, respect all of this canon material that has come before it, yet they still reached into, you know, KOTOR and like had you play out a mission where they buried bombs underneath the Great Dragon, and then, you know, like they just really respected all of Star Wars and represented all of it. And I think the show just in general, that's
a great point. Well. It's some sort of magical creation where all Star Wars fans from whatever era find unity in the Mandalorian. You know, they're giving enough pieces and enough touches. I'm a Clone Wars person. I'm a sequels person. I'm a animation only. I'm old school trilogy. This show has just hit the magic button and brought everyone together. Everyone's happy. They're partying on Friday nights, and there's very little controversy. I mean, we can find some, but they've done a great job of bringing everyone together.
You can always find some.
Your thoughts, Matt? What episodes jump out at you?
You know, probably my favorite episode of the season, other than the finale, was, I can't remember the name of it. It's the one where Boba Fett's introduced, where they're just like, hey, Boba Fett, here's a stick. Go kill like 100 people. And like, other than that scene just being amazing, and someone posted that video about like the audio captioning of like that scene, like Boba Fett swings his stick and cracks it. And like, because I love when stormtroopers' armors break. Like when I saw that in The Force Awakens, Chewbacca's blaster just booming open, their armor. When Finn stabs them with his lightsaber and the armor cracks, like I love seeing their armor just break like glass. I just love it so much. But like my favorite moment was when Moff Gideon has a clean shot at the Mandalorian and is like blow up his ship. Like eye for an eye, he destroyed my ship at the season finale, season 1, blow his ship up. I could kill him right here and now with my death. No. Blow his ship up, walk away. You know, I was like, how do you, like, that was my favorite moment, because it's such like, this is Moff Gideon. He's this guy that he encapsulates the Empire, this cocky, but they got it to back it up, like this big kind of like, I don't care, I'm going to do whatever I want, and 9 times out of 10, I'm going to win. So for me, I was just the smugness of him, Boba Fett, Ming-Na Wen just killing it as Fennec. Mando Yoda's little stance with his little hands, and just for me, I was like, this is a peak of what everything should be.
Robert Rodriguez did that episode.
Yes, he did.
It was amazing. There's still one thing that just it just rankles with me in my head, and it's how come Mando just didn't put his jetpack back on?
I know.
Yeah. We forget. If you ever play D&D, it happens. You're like, I put my jetpack down, and then you're playing the game, and the game's like, wait a minute. You didn't say you put your jetpack on. And the guy's like, oh no, but I probably did. No, you didn't.
You can roll to put it back on.
Yeah. Nat 1. You left it back behind you. Ah, snap. But like, Mando would have died had he tried to pursue them.
No, you're absolutely right, but. It just, I'm always watching this, and, you with doing storytelling, I'm sure you see whenever they point something out and you're like, okay, they're telling us this because it's going to be important later. And that's what I thought. The very second episode, he was able to call his jetpack, automatically from his wrist. And so I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, they probably forgot then in that case. You're totally right. Yeah, that's probably just a plot hole.
I was certain that that's why they showed us that, and he was going to be just call it. Come on, man! But it's all.
Maybe it's not like a.
I've gotten more
steering.
I've got more questions about the jetpack on TikTok than anything like that. Plot point. People are just like, I can't sleep. I can't go on with life until we talk about this for 2 hours.
Yeah. Sometimes they hint to stuff, like in the final episode when they're on that little like hallway, and there's the giveaway that you can follow. Like, oh, this is going to be important later. No, it's going to be important in about 10 seconds, and then we're just keep moving on. I was like, oh, okay, so that's not really foreshadowing, I guess. Like,
and But again, like I said, I'm kind of nitpicky with noticing stuff. That's why I only bring up the stuff that I see other people talk about, because I don't want to ruin things for anyone else.
Exactly. You can't shut down the genius, Chaco. You can't close it off. It's always going.
Well, I mean, we have enough, hate and stuff in the community already. I don't want to give any extra ammunition. I will wait till this dies down, and then I'll give a dissertation on it. But yeah,
don't start a whole new army off of. Okay.
Exactly. How about you, Amaya?
I think that despite my obsession with Ahsoka, I think that the Boba Fett episode that we just talked about was still my favorite episode, just because of that fight scene. Although something that did irk me while we're talking about the irked us in that episode was when the stormtroopers were running from the boulder. And I was like, why didn't they just jump to the side?
The guy with the turret's just like, I'll blow it up.
Yes, he went all the way to the end. He went out fighting.
It's because that was an allegory to America and COVID.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that scene. But like, we've all been there. Like, it was like a video game scene. Like, we've all been there. If we played like Battlefront 2, you've been like, oh, there's a tank coming at me, but I'm gonna turn. Well, I'm not moving. I'll blow this tank up. I don't care. And then you don't, and you die. So I would say it's pretty.
I feel like that concept though exists in all media. Like, I see people in movies running from cars, and I'm like straight.
Zigzag.
Just straight.
Prometheus. Oh, like, Prometheus. That scene where she's running.
It made sense. But logically, it just made me upset to see that.
Yeah. But these are trained soldiers.
Classic troopers.
Yeah.
I mean, but in that episode, the way Fennec Shan, jumped backwards off that rock with the swagger of a black teen.
Like, she just landed on the ground. That must have hurt her back really badly. Like, it looked cool, but like, she could have just like turned and hopped off. She didn't have to do this.
And that shot, Robert Rodriguez has done like 3 times in his Once Upon a Time in Mexico and Desperado series. That exact shot. It was a classic turnaround with like a revolver. It was perfect.
I've done that exact same shot in Halo 2. But yeah, I mean, for me, I have to go with man. So I do love that episode. I also say, the heiress at the end, because we had such a beautiful nod to a Kurosawa samurai face-off on this like serene waterscape just inside this fence, and outside was a Mexican standoff, and like those two things right next to each other was just so freaking cool. That along with when we had the whole arc that Mayfield had. He had the second deepest arc in the show next to Din.
Crazy.
In 2 episodes. I hated him in the first time I saw him.
I was not like him at all.
I loved him. I thought he's such an a-hole. I loved it so much.
Well, the first episode, I felt like he wasn't acting. I love Bill Burr's comedy. I was like, that's just Bill Burr in space. Like,
show up and be funny. Yeah.
You saw Gunkin?
Exactly. Like, he already had that impression on deck. Yeah.
Oh, once.
But having him show like this crazy amount of acting range in that episode, where all of a sudden you're like, yeah, he's a jerk, but that's because of how he's been. He's seen the horrors of the Empire. He's seen that it's not better on the other side, and that both sides will leave planets ransacked, and everyone's screwed, so just get yours and get out. And then he grows from it and is willing to sacrifice himself and put himself in front of this Imperial who's too high and mighty to even notice
that
him.
Performance from that superior officer was amazing.
Oh my gosh, he did amazing.
Everyone in the world wanted to like strangle him. Like, he was so he was so hateable. Beautiful performance.
He's the Empire. He's the embodiment of just cocky. I don't care. I'm Empire. If you're not wearing these cute little hats that we wear, you're not a real Empire. Like, you're just fodder.
You're right, Darth Choco. I think it's to me, I didn't love it the first time I watched it. Now I'm like, this is the most rewatchable episode. The poetry, the dialogue. You get so much out of that episode. It's definitely underrated. It's beautiful, beautiful. Layers and layers and layers.
I mean, when he asked the question, is it you can't show your face or you can't take off the helmet? And you're like, oh yeah, those are two very, very different things.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And like, man, that
he
Imperial...
does that one to Mando, everyone's got their rules and their religion up to the point of desperation, and then everyone breaks it. Then we're all equalized. And that like whole discussion while they're driving the tank, he's like, yeah, we're all the same, really. The bottom line is if you can sleep good at night. I'm writing this down. I'm for all my screenplays and everything. I'm just like, yeah, that's it. Like it doesn't matter how much we claim about religion or Jedi or Mando. At the end of the night, who's sleeping good?
And the elation that you felt when the music swelled and the TIE fighters came in, and you're like, yeah, Empire!
Empire!
Oh no! Let's show this indigenous people who's boss. And you're like, wait a second, that's...
Yeah, I was like, I forgot. And then I saw all the stormtroopers come out and start shooting at like the people, and I was like, wait, they're the bad guys. Like, I should not be happy right now.
But that was a very important episode because that's what got us to the finale here. And I lumped together. That's also why I didn't put Dan and Grogu on the characters part, because their story is tied so deeply into this this finale. So yeah, let's just jump straight into the finale and what it meant to all of you guys. I think I started with Kevin last time. So Matt, your thoughts on it?
I was sitting there with my son, and I'm jumping out of my chair off the couch, shouting and screaming like, "Oh my God! Oh!" And my son's 3 years old, sitting next to me like, "Oh my God! Oh shit!" I'm like, "No, don't say that! Don't say that! Don't say that, sweetie!" Like, like I was losing my mind every 5 minutes, not even every 10 seconds. I'm just freaking out. My son's there mimicking me, like I was just laughing because it was such a great finale. Everything you could ask for from Star Wars. You had good blaster scenes, the fight scenes between Moff Gideon and Din, when he was struggling against that one Death Trooper. I was like, oh, Din, man. And then he shot him off into space. My wife was like, oh, thank God. That's a little anticlimactic. I was like, baby, they can fly. Like, they're coming back. What are you like? They can fly. They'll be back. And then my favorite scene was just, other than obviously like Luke Skywalker, was right at the end when Moff Gideon put the gun to his chin. He's like, all right, well, see you guys. I'm out of here. And he just stopped him at the last minute. I was like, that's it. That's like the supreme failure of the Empire. Is like that right there was a cocky, confident man, at his end. He's like, all right, I'm done. I cannot come back from this. Goodbye, everyone. And, it's just for me, I'm just like, it's so much character growth. You saw how this Moff Gideon, like, you may not know this, but if you know something, I know something. And like the whole time, A, B, C, D, he's always in the know-how. And once Luke shows up, his whole plan's out of whack. He goes for that desperate attempt on Kara, tries to shoot Grogu, and he just like starts panicking. And I love that you have this character growth of, confident Moff Gideon, because honestly, I don't think he was worried about Mando coming for him. Like we saw that had Luke not done that, he would have won. So I think it was just that beauty of confidence shattering to the ground. And just for me, that was the highlight of Moff Gideon's failure. And I can't wait to see what he does for season 3. Cause like, we know he's going to be back. We know he's going to be important. What's going to happen is the New Republic going to be like, well, we can use him. He's going to be a good guy now. And, so like, because the New Republic, as we know with Andor, they're not technically New Republic. Like, we know that the Republic has done some shady things. Mm-hmm. And for me, like, I wouldn't doubt if they're like, well, Moff Gideon knows and he's a survivor. So, like, make him part of the crew. We need him.
That's a great call. That's a great call.
That's what I'm hoping for. He's such a great actor. And so, like, I love Moff Gideon. So, that's my 2 cents on the whole thing.
Yeah, I especially love because there is a few moments of this that really brought me back into Captain America Civil War. Specifically, how the robot was opening the door was exactly how Iron Man did it when
punching his face. Oh, I loved it. I was like, his helmet's gonna break. His helmet's gonna break. Like, is this what they were talking about? Like, is Pedro, is Din gonna never wear a helmet? 'Cause it's gonna be shattered. And I was like, chills.
Yeah, he got his bell rung. I thought he was gonna get like breach the hole from the opposite side or something.
Yes.
But also, Gideon's plan also felt kind of like a Zemo from that, where it was a divide and conquer. I'm going to throw this monkey wrench in. I'm going to throw this grenade into this group of people, watch it explode, and I'm out of here. And T'Challa saved him that time, but. Yeah, I got some vibes from that, but
wow, there are a lot of parallels. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. Zemo tried to shoot himself in the end through the chin, just like Gideon did. So
you got to live with your sins. You don't get away.
But my call, actually, no, I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna save it. Maya, your thoughts on the finale?
It was great, and it really. It felt like Star Wars to me. And not that whenever I watch anything Star Wars, it doesn't feel like Star Wars, like it always does. But to me, when I was watching it, and especially with the Dark Troopers for some reason, like I loved them. And I was like, this is so cool. It's like Star Wars. Yeah. The ending made me bawl my eyes out more than Clone Wars Season 7, which I cried a lot for. So that was surprising to me. I was sitting in my bed at 4 a.m. and I was like, I'm sitting here crying over Baby Yoda. But oh my gosh, it was, the best episode in the whole season, the best episode of Mando in general, in my opinion. I just loved it so much. And actually, after I'm done with this podcast, I'm going to go rewatch it with my parents and see their reactions. So I'm very excited for that because they're Star Wars fans too. So yeah.
Also, the Dark Troopers are also known now as Dubstep Troopers as well.
Yes, people flipped about that. People flipped.
But how about you, Kevin?
Yeah, this was just, I just have thousands of comments on this. I remember last night when, because we talked earlier and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if just one X-Wing showed up and it was like Red 5 calling in, and they didn't have the Red 5 call sign, but they show one X-Wing coming in. And I was like, okay, but it's still not going to be Luke. It's going to be Ahsoka or somebody else using an X-Wing coming over from the Republic. It's going to be Sabine or somebody, whatever. And then you see the robed character, and I was like, okay, but it's still not going to be Luke. There's no way they're going to pull this. It's still not going to happen. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. And then you see the black glove on the robot hand, and then you see the green. And when that happened, my heart was beating out of my chest to the point where I was like, I might need some love. I might need some help. Because for me, the wait between Return of the Jedi to this version of Luke is everything I've ever wanted. Everything I've wanted. So when we got Last Jedi, we finally got into the Last Jedi with Luke, and he's drinking the milk and he's got all his issues. I was like, I get the writing there, but I was hoping to see the Grandmaster Jedi Luke, who just wrecks shop, teaches people, is just ready to go. And so getting this finally, it was almost like these guys were writing a love letter to me. And then the cameo from R2 was also like, these are the two characters from the sequels that kind of got pushed aside. Han got so much play and Leia got so much play, but Luke and R2, they got swept aside a little bit. And now they got this cameo in this one, and it was just huge. And did you think R2 recognized Grogu and was like, oh, my buddy? And he starts doing that little dance, and he's like, I've seen you in the Jedi Temple, or I know Yoda and I'm connected to you and my data banks are firing, because R2 got so stoked to see Grogu. There's something there for sure. There's something there for sure. Yeah. I thought
you died on Dagobah.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I know about this. I saw your picture on Yoda's wall.
Yoda had a picture of you in his wallet.
Yeah.
Like, if Lucas was still in charge, he'd go back to that movie, digitally alter it so there is a picture of Grogu in Yoda's tree.
I love that. I love that Gideon's alive because he's just so interesting. He's so watchable. What a great actor and character. You watch The Boys. He's a very similar role in The Boys. But to me, the more realistic writing is when Din beats him in that fight. Because Din just got done snapping a stormtrooper's neck. They just murdered like 500 stormtroopers. The more realistic thing is like, hey, you kidnapped my kid. And that Beskar just goes right through his skull. And I just thought we could have had a Snoke moment where it was just shocking. This great villain gets killed. To me, that would have been more realistic writing. They kept him alive. Classic plot device. But I thought it would have been better if Din just ended him right there. He's like, nobody takes Grogu from
that fight was ever since he got the Beskar spear. I've said I want a Beskar spear versus Darksaber fight. I want it now. I figured it would probably be in the finale, but so when that finally happened, I was so excited. I loved that scene so much because it was what I was looking forward to.
And I think we have to talk about the Luke CGI. I think it's important. The emotion of that scene was there, but I feel like they've done better. They've done better. Like to me, Tarkin and Leia were better.
I agree.
The emotion.
I think Leia was better. I don't know about Tarkin. I think Leia was probably better though. But yeah, well, because Leia, I think they used an actress double who just looked like her, so they were able to make up in CGI. But this was Mark Hamill, so they had to
it was Mark Hamill's voice, but the actor was Max Lloyd. They brought in.
Oh, so they did. So they did what they did. They just did.
They brought in Max Lloyd, same kind of thing, and there was just, there's just a little part of you that's like, I'm loving this. This is it. This is amazing, but.
Yeah, no,
Star Wars has more.
It looked fine, but I think that when he spoke, I don't know, his just like facial movements were.
It was just his jaw moving. Yeah, the rest of his face was just untouched.
It just felt very like they just stuck his face on there, kind of. But I mean, it wasn't anything that like ruined the scene.
Totally.
No,
you have to comment on it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have seen people kind of spend some time being really negative about it. Honestly, I rewatched the episode, and the second time through, it's actually a lot better. You know what I mean? Like it's the old thing where, if you think you're drinking water and it's actually Sprite, you'll spit it out.
Yes.
Even if you love Sprite. And that's yes, it wasn't, it was far from perfect. At the same time, I mean, remember what they said. We were lucky to get a season 2 because they finished 5 days before lockdown.
That's right. That's right.
So I think that there may be some stuff that they couldn't go back and redo the way that they would have normally wanted to. They had to switch a lot of gears really, really quickly. If we do get more Luke and they like actually cast a new younger Luke and all this stuff, they will absolutely go back and edit that in. And it still wasn't the worst thing in the world. It didn't ruin it for me at all.
No. Peyton Reed.
They can always go back and edit it too. I mean, we saw with the one guy in that one episode where he's the pants guy. He's standing next to the door. He's not in the episode anymore. Yeah. So I think it's possible. Game of Thrones did that to like every single episode in their final season where they're like, oh, whoops, goofs. Oh, let's fix it. So I think if
there's a boom mic there,
if they, Black Dynamite, love that movie.
How cool was it when Luke, that last Dark Trooper, where Luke just forced crushed him and just shrunk in all his armor and just crackled everything. Like he made short work of everyone, but then they gave us that one little like, watch how badass Luke is, by the way, and he just crinkles this devastating warrior. It was I was cheering. It's the Luke I've deserved my whole life and needed and wanted.
My question about that is, was that appropriate for Luke to do though? Like, my wife was like, is that force choke? Like, is he like a Jedi is not so about like that was him indulging himself.
Luke's all about
I did think about that for a second, but then
it was extra.
It was everything's going back.
It was totally extra.
And I was like, yeah, but like that's not the Jedi way though, right? Like maybe I'm wrong, but
it's not the Jedi way, but that would only be applicable if it was a person that he was doing it to.
Good point.
Are you saying droids aren't people? Droid right. How
Droid
dare
rights.
you? Don't be racist, okay?
No, but I'm saying because I remember when The Last Jedi came out, a lot of people wanted to see Luke like just crushing people or having his hallway scene. But the reason we don't really get to see that in any Star Wars is because the Jedi don't do that to living beings. That's why the Jedi has always fought against robots. That's always been a thing. I mean, they do when they have to, but wanton slaughter is not.
Well, and I don't you think like part of Luke's thing is that Luke as a Jedi Master is always dressed in black. A lot of the other Jedis are browns and whites. But Return of the Jedi, Luke is in black because he is a little bit in touch with that. He is a little bit in touch with that anger, and he was trained a little different way. He never had the formal. So I think he is. I think there was a moment there, just like when he force chokes the Gamorrean guards at Jabba's palace, like just a quick. I think he's a little bit in touch with that.
This one's for you, Daddy.
Yes,
that part.
Bloodline.
That part too is because when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's so Anakin because it's the last one left, and he's like, all right, I got X amount of force power left. I'm just gonna, he's just extra. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's gonna strut
and if
in.
beat the boss level
for the rest of the Empire. Watch what I can.
I love that. He's just like, he gets to the final boss and he's like, oh, I have like 100 mana. Okay, well, let me do something cool here. Like, Anakin's force goes to stand next to him, like, yeah, force choke it.
I cast fireball. You're like, you're in a small room.
There's one droid you don't need to. I do it anyways.
What I said. But also, I do agree with you though, Kevin, because especially, Yoda's knowledge of the Force when he teaches Luke is different and more advanced than it was when he trained all the Jedi before, because
different Yoda.
Yoda already had to face his own darkness and all this stuff. And then, later when Luke is talking to Rey and explaining the Force, you notice he explained it very differently. He was like, there's warmth and cold and light and death. And he talked about the whole thing. And so, yeah, I can definitely see it. All right, so let's talk about the relationship between Mando and Grogu as we've seen it through, this whole through line. And I went with Matt first, I believe. So, Amaya. Wait, no, I started with Amaya last time. Kevin, sorry.
No, you start with. I don't know.
If I ended with Matt, that means I started with Amaya. It's
You got it.
Kevin, the relationship as we've seen it grow through these 16 chapters.
So special, and it was kind of like secretive. It was kind of secretive because me as an audience member, I woke up many times throughout the season surprised, be like, this is beautiful. It's not overt, it's not explicit. They're not pushing this. And he's very gruff, and he's like, hey, do this, do that. Take the ball, give me that back. But it's so sweet, and it just like seeped into our psyche and into our hearts and into our minds to the point where now in the chat rooms we're like, please, Grogu, do not choose the Jedi. Please do not choose anything. If Yoda's there, do not choose Yaddle Yoda, your own species. You choose to become a Mando and just be a rogue scoundrel bounty hunter. And we just get, it was just so well done and so subtle and so beautiful. And of course, we knew his helmet's coming off. And we hadn't had one scene yet, had we, in the entire 2 seasons where Grogu has like touched his face and has been up close.
They went out of their way to not do that, even when they were eating that one time. So
that's right. They would tease it, and Grogu looked up at that moment when he was drinking his soup, and he was like,
"He wanted to know."
He wanted to know, and so
the Boston guy saw your face.
Yes, and it was so good how they used Luke to like deepen that relationship, and Luke's like, he needs your permission. He needs your permission to go join the Jedi and do this crazy adventure, this new training, and it was beautiful. And I was already crying when Luke showed up. I'm just in tears and I'm losing it. And then when this happened, I was like, maybe they're going to pull a big twist on us and Luke is going to leave empty handed. And Grogu's like, I'm not budging. I'm not budging. I like the way it worked, but beautiful. And of course, so I adopted a little girl myself. And so Star Wars has always had this story of adoption. That the Rey story is a story of adoption, and she's just as much a Skywalker with Luke and Leia than she is whatever bio family she's from. And I've always just dug that. So the story of foundlings, the story of adoption, the story of your true family can look a number of different ways. It got me. It hit me hard, and I think they played it out great. A lot of people are scared Grogu's not going to show up anymore. I'm like, no, Din has promised he's going to go look in. And then we get crazy Luke training Grogu montages. And yeah, we're going to see Grogu.
Kylo Ren.
Yeah. Yes. That's
Kylo Ren's he's like, I think 10, 11, 12, maybe 15 years old this time. Choco, you know the timelines. How old is Kylo Ren right now?
Like 7 or 8.
Yeah, around 7 or 8. I mean, I believe he was born in 5 BBY.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. The whole foundling concept, we're going to see more of. I believe season 3 is going to really hit on that. Thought it was great.
Yeah, and that was the main reason I didn't think it was going to be Luke, is because I felt if Luke shows up, Grogu has to go with him. If someone lesser shows up, that lesser person can join their crew and go on adventures. So that's why I was really pulling for that. But I'm happy that we got what we got. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, it's speaking of adoption, it's just like thinking about it, it's like, well, isn't that the life of every Skywalker? I mean, Anakin left his mother as a child and was adopted by Qui-Gon, who died, and then it was Obi-Wan, and he's trying to find his way in the world, and he's at this point a child soldier. And then like Luke is the same way. Same with Leia. They're adopted. And Rey, it only makes sense that she would be adopted. And yeah, it was later on in life, but adoption can really happen at any point in your life. And
totally.
Like you watch The Force Awakens, and she's like, Solo, like that's Papa, like take me, let me be, and he was going to do that had she not been stubborn about like, oh well, where's my family? And so like for me, it's like
it's Star Wars one-on-one.
Yeah. Even Finn. I mean, look at Finn. I think Poe's like the only person who has an actual family in Star Wars. Finn was taken from his parents as a kid. He didn't even get a nickname because according to the books, he was like an outcast even among Empire soldiers. So then they gave him a nickname. And so like you look at this entire history of just Star Wars, Solo, Chewbacca. I mean, it's like for me, it's you hit it right on the head when you said like, oh, adoption. I'm like, oh shit, like that's that's everything. It's about family. It's about adoption. It's like, Darth Vader's like, I'm your father, and Luke's like, well, I mean, like, you murdered my parents. Remember, you like your soldiers lit them on fire, and then you killed my like best friend, uncle kind of person. So like, you're my dad, but also I loved people, and you killed all of them. So it's like, for me, it's just.
Let me show you my 3 other dads. My 3 other dads that were legit.
That's why I always chuckle at Leia comforting Luke after Ben's death, because A, she just met him. B, she knows more about Obi-Wan than he does. C, she was just tortured.
Yeah.
D,
laying there posing like, no big deal. I'm Leia. I'm a boss.
D, everyone she's ever met and ever knows on her planet is dead.
Leia's tough, dude. She's
like, they're there. Like, do you need something? And he's like, yeah. I'm sad.
I just lost everyone. your weird uncle that clearly lied to you about your entire life and lineage. I'll comfort you.
You need like
willfully died.
I was calling him, not you. Like, that was my contact. But whatever.
Yeah, it's and as a dad, it's hard to not watch The Mandalorian. And like I have a 3-year-old son, so for me it's just watching Grogu as he has more and more mannerisms and more personality. It's like, that's my son. Like, a few months ago he couldn't say XYZ, and now he's speaking in sentences and talking and growing and potty training. And it's like we see that, and that moment where like it looks like he wants your permission. It's like Grogu doesn't. Like if Mando would have said, no, I changed my mind, I don't think Grogu would have went. Like a part of him was like, I got to follow the Force. I've been there. But part of him's like, Dad, don't like, I love you. And it's just
like, do I get the release? Yeah.
I'm happy that we got the release without him having to white fang him and be like, get out of here.
Exactly.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And so it's, it's for me, it's just like, it's really hard as a father, as a parent to watch that. And you're like, oh man, like he just gave up his everything. Like he had finally opened up. Look what he did to get this far. He killed so many people. He has done everything. His code, his religion is gone. And now he did all for this child, and this child's gone now. And it's like, I'm really interested what Force could bring them back together. Like, because we know the First Order is going to be rising soon. Like, we see it through Star Wars Resistance, the show, that like the First Order's kind of been there. We know Moff Gideon is probably part of the First Order in some. He's working with Tarkin. Like, there's some reason to bring them back together. And for me, it's just like, I love that father-son aspect, and I want more of it. So I just am excited to see how everything goes, how, my whole theory was, are we going to see, whoever joins the crew be like the mother, other father kind of thing? And you're going to have this like dyad of like 2.5 men kind of thing of like, oh, well, I'm his father, as Mando said. He's like, well, I'm training him. He's like, well, look, this is how you raise him. So I still hope we get that. I still hope, like, I would love to see Mando telling Luke how to raise his son.
Yeah. So that's, and I've always thought Luke has had multiple classes or multiple temples. We saw him at like one of his later temples in the Last Jedi flashbacks. And so maybe this is like his first batch of students that he's got going. And yeah, I definitely think they have to reunite. The fans will revolt.
Well, it's also,
I want to see little Kylo.
It's not like he can't go see him, you know what I mean? But your thoughts on it, Amaya?
He promised he would.
I really love their bond so much, and it hurt. So that's why I was crying so much, because it hurt so bad to see them have to separate. And I was at the store today, and I saw this shirt, and it was like Mando and Grogu on like a shirt together, and I was like, I don't know, I'm not about to start crying in the store right now. Like, it hurts so bad, because when I first started watching The Mandalorian, it was like the very first Star Wars I had, besides the sequels, because I saw the sequels in theaters, but it was the first Star Wars I had watched after taking a very long break from Star Wars, just because I wasn't that into it, and I'm kind of mad at Dave Filoni for kicking Ahsoka out of the Jedi Order. But it was kind of the thing that got me like back into Star Wars, like a lot, like big time. And so when I first started watching it, I was like, "Aw, Baby Yoda's cute." Like that was like my first opinion. So he's always been like really special to me, and like their bond, just because he's like, I just love him so much. But so yeah, it was really painful, the end of the episode, to see them. And I knew it was gonna happen too. I was like, there's no way, like, he's not gonna say no. That just doesn't make sense. Like, I knew he was gonna go with whatever Jedi showed up. And so I knew it was gonna happen, and it just hurt a lot. But I do think that we'll see them reunite, so that eased the pain a little bit.
Do you think your dad's gonna cry tonight when you watch it with him? You think he's gonna be like, "Come here, baby Yoda, come here, let me hold you"?
I don't think so. I think my mom might, because she's like a mom. She's like, "Oh, baby Yoda's so cute," but I don't.
You're my baby Yoda.
We started. Sometimes we call. So I have like a really tiny dog. So sometimes we call him Grogu because he has like.
Oh yeah. How could you not? Funny. How could you not? I call my daughter Grogu. I'm just like.
Okay. Well, I have to. I gotta ask that the question that a lot of people are talking about is Kylo Ren gonna be responsible for Grogu's eventual downfall? Well, what do you guys think?
I say no. I believe the way it's going to work. I think we're in for like 4 or 5 seasons for Mando. And my prediction is the end, however it works out, the end is Mando and Grogu being a family and being Mandalorians, a foundling Mandalorian, and helping, I think season 3 is going to be all about rebuilding Mandalore. A lot of the lore you've talked about, Chaco with Bo-Katan, and I think that's going to be a huge storyline, going back, taking the rubble of this kingdom and rebuilding it. And I think the final arc of all of this is Grogu's force sensitive, super powerful, but ultimately he wants to be a Mando and he wants to be with Din, and they go off and they get out of the temple before Kylo and Snoke and that whole saga starts, and they're removed from it. That's my guess. So I say no. I say we get the happy ending we all want, roundabout after a couple seasons with Din and Grogu into the sunset.
Okay. Oh, I like it. And Matt?
So to directly answer that question, I think, like I said, we've kind of figured out the age. Kylo Ren was like at least an older young adult teenager before he decided to go haywire and was like, praise be to Snoke, and worked with the Knights of Ren and all that stuff.
He was like 23 at that point.
So that means we're still like, what, 10 years away from that? So unless we like do a heavy time skip, which is possible, I don't think he's going to have anything to do with Grogu. I think Grogu will be gone by then, because like we're all on the assumption that like, so Grogu is going to Luke to train to be a Jedi. But what if like he's not good at it, or he constantly keeps thinking about Mando? Like totally. He's going to give into the dark side. And if we are going to like the building Mandalore, a big part of Mandalore rebuilding would be foundlings. If Mando himself, if Din is responsible for foundlings, and then he gets news that like Grogu doesn't want to be
Absolutely.
a Jedi, he's going to be like, well, if I'm in charge of foundlings and I'm in charge of recruiting foundlings and getting all these kids and people to join Mandalore, like I want my boo back, you know, I want my little Grogu back. Yeah. So I think like that's going to probably be like, once you said that, I was like, oh, that's probably what the next season is going to be about, of rebuilding Mandalore, because we are going to get Bo-Katan. That's probably going to be episode 1 is Bo-Katan versus Din in a fight. And if Din has a reason to fight and he wins, you know, it's, for me, it's like, then he's in charge of Mandalore, and what do you do from there? So either way, I don't think Kylo Ren's going to kill anyone.
No, I don't think it's going to be connected. And it could also be too that Luke is like, man, Grogu, things are going good. This just isn't for you. This just isn't for you. You're going in this direction, and in my wisdom, I see a different path for you.
Yeah. And Amaya, your thoughts on it?
I agree. I don't think we'll see that happen, just because I feel like we will get like a conclusion to Grogu's story as the Mandalorian finishes, and I don't think that lines up like with the timeline really. Whether it be happy or sad, I don't really have any predictions for Grogu's actual ending that we'll get, like you guys do. I just am along for the ride, kind of, to see what happens.
Okay, nothing wrong with that. So and it's not because I always have to clarify. There are certain things I don't want it to happen, but for a storytelling standpoint, this is a possibility that I see. Right. Because we know, you know, how slowly Grogu ages, and yes, it does accelerate just like kids do when they hit their teen years. I just remember how many people had trouble seeing Luke the way that he was in The Last Jedi. What could make him go down that path? And you know, for me, I was always made sense of like, if you've been taking these Force sensitive children from around the galaxy and you're taking care of them, you're responsible, and this kid that you see darkness that you suspect might ruin things does.
It's the worst thing that could happen.
That's the absolute worst thing, and he sees that it could happen, but can't do anything about it because that's his nephew. And you know, if we love, you know, Grogu this much, and that happens, like, that is enough to break a man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, does
it informs like that writing? It informs that, like, that Rian Johnson writing. It definitely builds strength into that writing. But
especially him saying, "I will protect Grogu with my life."
Yes. That was a beautiful line. That was a beautiful line.
For me, it's and now that I'm thinking about it too, Snoke has to know about this. Like, Snoke's is coming around to his time. Wouldn't like should we be worried about Snoke and Gideon and Thrawn or Tarkin? You know, like building this. Are they going to go after Grogu? He went after Kylo, and Kylo is super Force sensitive. That's the reason he chose him. Are we going to see Snoke? Like, I mean, that's the whole thing that's with The Mandalorian. It's like, hey, we're in the sequel era. We're going to be getting more sequel characters. Are we going to see some more of other sequel characters that are of age. And we know that the main characters aren't, but Snoke would be there. We know Phasma would be there. We know Hux would be there. So it's like, I'm interested to see.
Some characters could start popping in for sure.
Yeah, well, and that whole also, redemption, like the way Clone Wars did for prequels.
Also, we can also surmise that because Snoke / Palpatine had his hooks in Kylo Ren already, from childhood. So at the time of the Mandalorian, Palpatine's already in his mind. That's a crazy thought. And I kind of thought that the reason that they were experimenting, with Grogu's blood is because Palpatine hasn't been able to get a Strandcast body strong enough to be useful. And he's like trying to do everything he can, and they're doing experiments on it just to get to that point. So yeah, I see these are seeds, and they may be building up to something, but we'll see. Also, this is kind of a tangent, but I had to touch on something Amaya said, because you talked about Dave Filoni kicking Ahsoka out of the Jedi Order. I just want to point out that he had to, like George Lucas would always joke and be like, "I get it." So are we gonna kill Ahsoka this week or nah? because she's not in the movies, she has to go somewhere. But my question is, in that episode, she may consider it different, but is she a Jedi again? I mean, she had the beads.
She was very respectful to the Order.
And I just because I just did an episode on the Mortis arc, and we got to see an older Ahsoka talk to her, like with her guilt, like warning her about following Anakin as her master. And we got to see them bring out the evil in her during that arc. And, it was Anakin's teachings that really drove that wedge. And then in Rebels, she fought Vader and saw that it was Anakin. And I'm sure that utterly broke her. But I'm curious if at that point she was like, oh, maybe they had a point. All the stuff they were warning us about, yeah, I guess I could see how that could lead to the dark side. She talks about the best of us. But I don't know, that was just a side point I just wanted to bring up real quick.
And for the record, I think I was like 11 or something when that aired. So I was like tiny, and they just got rid of my favorite character, and that's why I was upset.
The heck with this show.
This wasn't like High School Me or anything. It was just, that was my only opinion, was I was so upset that I just stopped watching Star Wars. But now I'm back.
To that
good question, though. I think Chaco, you bring up a good question. Like, the era of what a Jedi is always changes. So like in the prequels, it's very official. In the High Republic, we're going to see even more official, with the badge, and we're the peacekeepers of the galaxy. But as we get later and later, like a Luke era Jedi is very fishy. Like there's a lot of unofficial things. And so if Ahsoka calls herself that, I think she's doing it like the spiritual way. She's doing it like the spiritual cousin way. With no disrespect, she knows about when she was in it, they were too political. Even in that Mortis episode, Qui-Gon shows up and he talks to everyone. So Qui-Gon has like this special moment in that arc, and he gives like teaching, and he was the rebel Jedi. He was the Jedi who wasn't the Jedi. He did everything different and wanted to do things a little bit more rebellious. So that's a good question. I think she sees herself representing them, but maybe like as a spiritual cousin,
Yeah.
I think it's like Ronin and Samurai, because we saw her episode, which is Mando is Westerns, Ahsoka's getting her own show. It's not going to be a Western. It's likely going to be a Kurosawa, samurai, old school kind of samurai Ronin kind of thing. And I think in that essence of, is she a Jedi, was like a Ronin is a samurai, but not really. Like they've got the trainings of it. They follow the rules to an extent, but like at the end of the day, they don't call themselves samurai. They're Ronin. Yeah. So I think like if she's getting her own show, I think that's where they're going to go with it. I think they're going to start really diving into like the whole samurai Ronin Jedi connection that has always been there.
which is
At least I hope
awesome
so.
because that's what I
Yeah.
wanted. I wanted Ben to survive and have that arc of just traveling around trying to gain repentance. But
That's what I wanted. That's great.
all right, so is there that two questions? Is there anything that you would have changed about this season, and what do you want to see next season? What do you want? Do we got any predictions in the house? I'm going to Matt first on this one.
So what would I change about this? I kind of wish Grogu. I know we kind of always joke about like Grogu saving the day, but like Grogu had a lot to do in the first season in terms of the Force, and in this season he kind of didn't do anything with the Force. So I wish he would have done a little more Force stuff. I like take the Force push, Force pull. Like we saw him like wreck those 2 stormtroopers, but other than that, he really was kind of just like as an active character, very passive. And that's what I would prefer to change that. Let Grogu, he's talking more, he's doing more, like he should actively be doing, like he choked Cara Dune and like he used the Force like 20 times maybe in the season 1. And this time it's like 3 and he Force pulls a ball 2 out of those 3 times. So that's the one thing I would change. And the other question was
predictions. What do you want to see next season? What do you think we're going to see? That type of thing.
I hope they start really bringing this into the sequel era that it is in. I love all the sequel stuff going on behind the scenes, like Star Wars Squadrons, the video game. It takes place in the sequel era. Star Wars Resistance takes place in the sequel era. So like, there's a lot there. Like Captain Pyre, I just saw him on Star Wars Resistance. So I was like, oh, a gold Phasma. Like, yes, this stuff. Like, I want to see. I don't know if it would be official yet, but I want to see the first Order Stormtrooper change. Like, I want them to move out of the old original trilogy era Stormtrooper outfits and move into the First Order. I want the First Order to be there so we can finally.
That'd be great if there's a transitional suit, another Stormtrooper toy to buy, like a transitional suit between the two. That'd be great.
And can I
that's what I want to see.
Heavily recommend the book Bloodline.
Yes,
Bloodline by Claudia Gray. You've probably heard everyone who likes Star Wars books talk about Claudia Gray because she is incredible. But Bloodline, it's 7 years before The Force Awakens, and it's just an incredible book all about Leia.
I will probably read it before the end of the night.
Also, Claudia Gray's Leia book, her regular Leia book is
Princess
beautiful
of Alderaan.
Story on adoption and parenting, and it's great. It's really good.
Yeah. Amaya, your thought. I know you said you were along for the ride, but is there anything you would have changed at least?
Well, I didn't really have any predictions for what's going to happen to Grogu, like in the long term. I do have predictions for next season, but as far as what I would change, I kind of agree that I wish we would have seen more of Grogu's like power maybe being explored and demonstrated. And I also wish that we would have maybe seen a little bit more of his backstory, just because Ahsoka was like, he has a backstory. And then we were like, oh,
show it.
Oh, cool. He has one. And she's like, yes, moving on. And you're like, no.
But that's also one of my predictions for the next season, or maybe the season after, is that we will start to see more of that within future seasons. I also think that next season, like, we'll go into like the conflict with the Darksaber between Mando and Bo-Katan and like Mandalore itself. Like, I feel like it's going to focus on that more specifically.
Yeah.
Real quick. Was Grogu at the Jedi Temple when is it being destroyed? Do they clarify whether he left before that happened or he left during it?
They don't clarify it.
Because if he's there, like, is he gonna go like, oh, I'm going back to school, and then he's gonna have like Vietnam War flashbacks to the last time he was in class, like hiding in a closet shaking, and we're gonna see like Aiden Christensen like walk in the room and just start like swinging his saber, like and flash forwards to Luke like, all right, Grogu, take us up. He's gonna be like, like
he's gonna look.
I just wanted to put that up.
He's gonna look at little Ben and get those flashbacks. Yeah.
In Legends, Luke had some different temples. Mm-hmm. Luke never used the Coruscant temple. That's always been abandoned. He never went back. He had a Yavin temple. He had some
Most
different
was on
locations.
Yavin, yeah.
But yeah, PTSD. If you're a Jedi, you always have PTSD. If you're a Jedi, your parents have been murdered at some point. That's just across the case for everybody. There's always PTSD.
And but Kevin, your further thoughts?
Yeah. I think it's going to be heavy on Mandalore lore. We need a new term for that. I don't know how we're going to say that too much. I think it's just going to be deep in that. And then what feeds into that to me is building the Din Djarin character development. So who are his birth parents? And I think that's like going to be a big mystery that will be really fun to explore. Same as Amaya was saying, the backstory for Grogu. Like there's two huge mysteries. Who were Din Djarin's birth parents? And then what did his adoption Mando parents look like? And what were they like? And what was their belief? And let's get the armorer back. I loved that side character. Did she survive that battle? Let's get some of that. So I think it's going to be deep Mandalore lore. Huge character development for Din, more helmet off. He's already absorbed so much from all the different Mandalorians around him. He's got something from Boba Fett. He's got, I love how he just calls Boba Fett, what up? And then he's gotten stuff from Bo-Katan, and he's learning more and more about who he is and what he is. He's to me, the parallel is that Grogu is more mature and Din is just this child who's waking up and learning so much. He knew how to kill and kidnap, but now he's learning spirituality. And so I think we'll get all those character development. For a couple of things I would have changed for this season, I wanted one more big reveal. I mean, that's very selfish because there were so many great reveals. Like if you get Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker in live action, that's crazy. I never dreamed in a million years we'd get all that. But I wanted one more big reveal, maybe something to touch back into, like Matthew.
Bib Fortuna was
okay, let's talk about that. I never thought we would see someone strolling down the stairs of Jabba's palace again. When that happened, because that's one of my favorite sequences in all of Star Wars. You're right. The Bib Fortuna was good. So he survived. He survived the big explosion, apparently, and just became a fat gangster who's just running shop. I got a lot of my fans and followers were like, it's called the Book of Boba. I thought we were getting a show. And I was like, no, it's like the Book of Business. It's like the Book of Gangster. Like he's running the show in like Gangster Town now. And that was the best post-credit scene I think that I'd ever seen. And they just came in and killed everyone. No questions. Just shoot everybody. Kill them all.
Not the slave girls, not the Twi'leks.
Except the slave.
You're right.
But like Ming-Na Wen's like smile after everyone's dead was like, oh man.
Yes, chugging the whiskey.
Yeah. We're here for all the killing. But yeah, I think one more big reveal. What I was always hoping was there'd be a Force ghost. Tie in the prequels with like a Qui-Gon Force ghost. Tie in the prequels with like an Obi-Wan Force ghost. Bring in just a little guidance, a little extra spiritual guidance. Man, it was really good. Maybe I'm trying to think of the episodes that were less plot forward that we could have changed. But with 8 episodes, I mean, that's tight. You're really tight. I think to me, the directors did better this year. I thought they were tight. They were clean. It was great. It was great. Yeah, but I think it's going to be all about Mandalore next year and character development for Din. Like, what are his mysteries? What are Grogu's mysteries?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel that one of the things that this season was lacking was character development of Din specifically. I mean, yes, we have a great arc from him, chapter 1 through chapter 8. And I was going to bring that up with chapter 1 through chapter 16. I was going to bring that up when you mentioned the Book of Boba, because this whole show has been chapters. So it's not, not unrelated. But we didn't find out why he is the way he is. We don't really know what his goals are. Where does he go from here? What does he want? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think he knows.
And I mean, I think that's kind of like you said, like he, in a sense, is a child. He, like, I saw Grogu as a representation of himself, and he's saving himself from this this killing life that he has,
Yes.
and by doing that is just warming up himself. But I do feel like we could have got more, because in this season, I feel like really 3 episodes really developed him, and a lot of the other ones were introducing other potential shows, which isn't bad. I'm here for all of them.
It's the Age of Ultron treatment.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're right. You're right. That's the big loss. It was, we needed more about Din. We needed more about Din. There was so much going on. You know, and a lot of season 2s are launching other things. And so we're getting like 4 shows out of this. We're getting the Rangers of the Republic, the Ahsoka, the Boba Fett. You know, we're getting, and maybe a Luke trilogy or a Luke. So we're getting all this stuff coming out of here. But meanwhile, we're like, Din, more motivation, more backstory. What was your home planet like? What if he turns out to be from, something very special in Star Wars lore?
I felt like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, of like knocking on the window, like, can we get a little bit more Mandalorian in the Mandalorian? A prediction I have is the reason that Moff Gideon is left alive. So the Mandalorians have been displaced from their planet. They're all over the place. So they're going to have to go and reunite the clans to take back their world. Take it back from who?
Yeah, a bunch of warrior clans too. Like, to rebuild that, people are angry.
But the question is, take it back from who?
Who's occupying?
Who's occupying the world right now? We know that Moff Gideon was there. He was part of the conquering force. That's how he knew Din Djarin by name, right? No one knew his name. He never took off his mask, but he called him Din Djarin. He was the first person to say that name in season 1, right?
So he knows the Djarin clan or whatever.
So, what does that mean? Does that mean that the reason that he's alive is because they're going to need him to help get them back to the planet? Are we going to find out that there is an even, bigger bad that is currently running it as some sort of refinery to scrape up any last bit of Beskar for first order, final order purposes? And
are you pitching a Gideon versus Thrawn fight?
I don't want to. So Thrawn, I need him to be on the Ahsoka side, and like I have a whole pitch
tie together
for Thrawn. But
you're right. What if there's a monster Empire outpost on Mandalore, and there's some stuff going? That's a great call, Chaco. That's a great call.
And whoever is running that is the person. And if they are on Mandalore, that means that next season we could be going up against troopers and ex-Mandalorians, kind of like we saw in Rebels, who also have Beskar gear. And so it's no longer a get out of jail free card. No more just running around with grenades.
Who's in charge of Mandalore right now? Can Bo-Katan be like, well, I don't want to fight you, Din, but there's someone else in charge, so you go fight them and I'll fight the winner? Like, is that an option? Who's currently in charge right now?
We don't know.
Can he be a figurehead? Like,
we end the season with Din as the Lord of Mandalore. Yeah. Like, he's, and that's going to create a lot of problems for a lot of people.
He doesn't even know what it is to be a Mandalorian, and he's in charge of them.
Yep.
Plus, like, new First Order. Everyone keeps their helmets on from now on. I'm not the only one anymore.
Plus, there's no way that he knows how to use a darksaber, because we've only seen him fight with a spear, and a staff doesn't translate, right?
No, he's going to cut his hand off, just like Luke.
I had to. It was low-hanging fruit. But yeah, this was awesome. I can't wait to find out more. We gotta wait a full year.
That's crazy.
For this.
That's crazy.
For this. We'll be hopping into the Bad Batch soon. We already got, Andor's already filming. And so we're gonna have plenty of stuff to keep us
the whole High Republic launch of comics, books, and a secret animated show that they might be dropping. High Republic's gonna be fun some bedside reading.
I can't wait. Charles Soule, the first book, Light of the Jedi, They've already released the first 8 chapters online, so you can jump into it, start reading it right now. And I was shocked at how much I was drawn into it.
Nice.
So, yeah, I
Young
can't,
Yoda,
I can't wait.
young 700-year-old Yoda,
Yeah,
out on missions.
yeah, I can't wait. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on. Where can we find you and all your stuff? And we'll go to Kevin first.
Yeah, always Toy Blaster Forever is my handle on everything, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And I'm going to be launching a new, just Kevin Wright, the Kevin Wright Show. And I'll take people into my toy collection. I'll take people into more of the personal side of things, how Star Wars interacts with my regular life. So you'll see that pop up on TikTok too. Thank you so much, Darth Chocolate. This was really fun.
Can't wait to see it. And then, how about you, Matt?
I just do TikTok right now. I did it for fun like 2 months ago. So mine's the Storytime Guy. I do all things across Disney because I work for Disney, but that's irrelevant to all this. And yeah, I just love Disney as a whole. Star Wars, Marvel. I named my son Peter after Peter Pan and Peter Parker. So if you like all of Disney, follow me on the Storytime Guy for just TikTok.
Yeah, and also I love that you're dipping into other cultures, lore, and stories too. That's really cool because there's a lot of it we just don't get. You have to go looking for it. I have a free fairy tale book coming out. It's called Fairy Tales Not From Europe. I'm going to be releasing it probably on Christmas Day. Free book with like 40 fairy tales, and all the fairy tales are not from Europe. So pre-Hispanic Aztec culture, China, Armenia, Japan, Africa, African American. So all that fun stuff. So follow me on TikTok for updates on that too. Love it. Thank you so much. And Amaya?
I am jarjar.bonk on TikTok and Instagram. And the other podcast that I do with my friend Micah is called Sit Happens. It's on YouTube. We have our new episode going up tonight where we talk about the finale because we've done one episode for every episode. And then next week we're doing a holiday special where we live react to the holiday specials. So that's good. I'm excited for that.
Sorry, Lego holiday special or the holiday special?
Nope, the original one.
Good luck. Good luck.
Get out the drinks. Get out the drinks.
I was gonna say I've seen it, never sober, but
I've seen all I've seen is that Chewbacca's son is named Lumpy, and then I was laughing off. So
there's so much worse.
It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing.
I've heard. No, my brother's seen it, and he's so strange. He's crazy.
Amaya, will you promise to take some video footage of you before watching it and then after, because
I'll do that.
You can see the soul and happiness having left your eyes.
Happen in your...
My favorite part is when B. Arthur from the Golden Girls sings a song to a slowed down version of the Cantina song.
What?
I can't wait.
Just one more round,
treat,
friends. Yeah, I remember the song. It haunts me. But thank you guys so much for joining me. I can't wait to have each and every one of you guys back. The hard thing about doing this podcast is there's so many awesome creators that I want to talk Star Wars with, and there's just not enough time or things. But we just got so many new projects that there probably will be. So stay tuned, and may the Force be with you always.
Have a nice day, everyone.
All right.